What's up, guys? I'm Mike from StockedUp, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. We have a lot of important news to go over in today's video, and I'm sure a lot of you guys already know this, but Moderna announced a vaccine that is more than 94% effective. That sent the markets not flying in pre-market, but they were definitely up a good amount in the markets. The S&P 500, Dow, and NASDAQ all finished pretty green today. So with that being said, in this video, we're going to cover all the news about what happened in the market today and what stocks we are eyeing for the rest of this week. If you guys aren't subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe to see our daily videos on your YouTube homepage each day. And if you guys want to join our free Discord chat, it's the first link in the description down below. Tom and I post completely free day trades every single morning, but let's get right into it, Tom.
Yes, today the Dow jumped over 450 points as Moderna announced that this vaccine had a 94% effective rate. And this was amazing, and their CEO called it a game changer. If multiple companies are distributing these, then it's just going to make, distributing them a lot easier. And then also these government contracts for the millions and millions of vaccines are just going to keep adding up as long as these vaccines are successful.
True. So how did Moderna do today? Can you pull up a chart?
Yeah, Moderna, they actually did pretty well. You can see that they did very well in pre-market, but then in the actual trading day, they actually ended up going down.
Gotcha, and that's actually pretty common to see with vaccine stocks. Pfizer did pretty much the same thing last week. So back when the market was up like 12 or 1,300 points last Monday, Pfizer was just skyrocketing in pre-market, but they fell once the market opened, and we saw something very similar today with Moderna. So we talk about this a lot, actually, about how vaccine stocks and just like pharmaceutical stocks, they get so pumped up before the market even opens. By the time that the market actually does open, a lot of times momentum is already it's starting to fade away.
Yeah, and you can see that the implied volatility dropped over like 40%. So it was just an insane day on that as well. So it played almost like an earnings play, but almost even more implied volatility movement than a lot of earnings would move.
True. So what other news happened in the market today?
The airlines warned that if the government imposes more restrictions on them, they could have problems rolling out the vaccine. Reuters reports, and this is crazy to hear that if we do see more planes having to get shut down and actually more passengers unable to get on these planes, what these companies are saying is that they're going to have to raise prices on shipping. So that's going to be a big deal to the government, maybe, if the government has to end up paying more money on shipping for these vaccines, rather than keeping the prices fairly low, if people are allowed to at least get on the jets and make some revenue for these airlines.
I mean, the airlines, they were never in like a great position, but 2020 really just put the nail in the coffin, you can say. Airlines, like if you look at American Airlines, they went from about $30 back in February, and they went to lows of about $8.25, and they just been like lingering around the bottom, like a nice support level in like the $10 to $12 area. Like I'm looking at American on like a 9-month chart, and they're not recovering like a lot of other sectors. Everyone knows that the tech sector has just been just insanely strong the past couple months, and we're starting to even see some of the value stocks, like let's say Costco, really shoot up. But like even like CAT, Starbucks is doing great. Home Depot. What else? We have Coca-Cola even starting to creep up there, and banks. Like you look at JP Morgan, they're starting to creep up there, but these airlines are still struggling.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to start getting FOMO on these banks once they start. Like if JP Morgan pops another 10 to 20%, I think people are going to start getting FOMO and saying, man, I wish I would have gotten in down there at the bottom. And really, it's just nice to see these banks gapping up. And I really like it moving above that support that was right around 115 on JP Morgan and a lot of these other banks as well, like Bank of America. And like we said last week, I think a lot of these things are coming back to equilibrium. So I think we might see some of the bigger tech stocks potentially fall slightly, and then some of these value stocks rise.
Yeah, like well, a lot of people were calling it a rotation last week, especially on Monday when we saw tech stocks fall while we saw a lot of Dow stocks rise. But it's just something to watch out for. If we do lock down again, Obviously, that would not be a good sign at all for the markets. So it's just another thing to keep in the back of your head, considering that we are talking about airline stocks.
Yeah, definitely. And then some other news that came out was that Global Newswire reports that Plug Power, they actually announced a proposed $750 million public offering today, and this sent their stock flying to the downside over 8% in after hours. And this is a pretty highly regarded stock, and a lot of people have been looking to trade this lately, especially getting into more of the solar powered slash electric companies. And I think that a lot of people are going to be pretty surprised to see them do this offering and be down this much in after hours, over 8%.
True. So I know they have a lot to do with hydrogen, but I think it's a good move for the company. Their stock price did rise a really good amount in the past couple months, and Tesla actually did the same thing when their stock was soaring. So in the short term, it's not the best thing, but in the long term, it's a pretty good move for the company overall, especially given their circumstances. Like if they went from like $25 down to $2 and then they did an offering, that would be a bad sign. But since they went from $2.50 all the way up to $25 and now they're doing a share offering, that's actually pretty beneficial for the long term.
Yeah, it's beneficial for them, but for most traders though, that generally means that they're going to keep falling down over the next couple of weeks, doesn't it? I mean, I know it's not a given, but that's
Yeah.
generally what happens,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
generally what happens is we'll most likely see a short-term pullback or just a stock fall for a couple days, maybe even a couple weeks, but it's really just a short-term thing, and it's just good for the company. In the long term, short term, it's not the best. So, was there any other major news that happened today?
Nothing too big today, was pretty slow. The main thing was that vaccine, and it seems like that every time we have some news come out with the vaccine, it just sends the markets flying.
Yep. So now let's get into our member of the day. And today's member of the day is Papa Luis 20. So he made a great post in the Profits channel. He said, "My first contract with you guys with WDC. I have only one contract and I made $69. Not bad to start my morning. So great job, Papa Luis 20. He actually joined the stat modeling program on Friday, Tom.
Oh, he did. Wow, that's awesome then for him to have it on his very first trade to pop it like that. That's awesome. Great trade on WDC, and I really like the setup on that. And it really did end up running in pre-market. And you could see it even did keep running after the morning and ran all day.
Yeah, awesome. So if you guys want to trade the same options that Tom and I trade every single day, you can click the Stocked Up Options Alerts link in the description down below. WDC was one of those trades, but now let's get into our momentum plays for tomorrow. And the first one is MU. So MU had an amazing day today. Tom, what levels should we be watching?
Yeah, MU even had some great news come out today. Yeah, watch for them to go ahead and pop above $62, and if they pop above that, then just watch 62.25.
Awesome. With the next play, we have Chevron, which is CVX.
CVX, make them go ahead and pop above 89.25.
All right, and then we have Boeing BA.
BA, make this one pop above 203.
All right, and then last but not least, we have ExxonMobil XOM.
XOM, make them go ahead and pop above 38.40. Sorry.
All right, so we're eyeing all these plays potentially to the upside. I was really looking at Chevron actually, CVX. I saw a good amount of pretty large call option fills today on the chain. Just looking at Chevron, they obviously had not the best year, you can say, and they're starting to creep back up there. So Chevron is definitely on my watch for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I really like CVX. It has a lot of momentum to the upside, and I think a lot of these oil stocks do, and that might have to do something with oil, and Russia is actually having production cuts right now, so that could send the price of oil up again as well.
Awesome. So now let's get into our unusual options activity for tomorrow, and we are looking at the Boeing 205 strike call options that expire this Friday, November 20th. There was about $11 million put into this trade today. Looking at Boeing, I mean, it's breaking out. Tom, I mean, this looks like a pretty good setup to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this looks very strong. I actually really like it. You can see it's moving right off of this long-term trend line I have, and it also looks like it had a little bullish flag set up right here where it popped up, had the flagpole, and then kind of consolidated for a few days and created that flag, and now it's starting to extend back out. So I really like Boeing, especially if it can break the high of today, which is around 203. I think it's a very strong setup, and you can see it's even bouncing off of that trend line in this intraday chart, which is awesome to see. That means that's a really good confirmation in my eyes. So if they break 203 tomorrow, I would really be watching this to the upside. I think it could be a pretty large swing too.
Awesome. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. Right now, it looks like the unusual options activity can definitely be longing that. But now let's get into our questions from the previous episode. And we have Richard S. saying SPC is probably going to be called out by Tom this week. Get ready, Space Cadets. Tom, what's going on with SPCE? It
Yeah,
tanked.
they actually popped down today in pre-market, which was crazy. No one expected this to happen, but they ended up rescheduling a test flight that was scheduled for the end of November because of COVID concerns. So they don't have an exact rescheduled date yet, I don't believe. But obviously, it's just one of those things that now it's going to be a setback for the company. And a lot of people were looking at this test flight saying, look, if this test flight's successful, that's just one step closer that we are to getting people into space, at least for space tourism. And that's just awesome to see. And I just think that, this is a pretty big setback for the company, at least in the short term. And you can really see how much it affected them this morning whenever that news popped.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a lot worse. Actually, I was looking at SPCE on a daily chart, and yes, they're down 6% today, but it's really not too bad. They actually ended up closing green, like from their opening price. Like overall, they're down 6% today, but they opened right around. They opened right around $20.63, and they're about $20.90 right now. So they came back a little bit, but it's not the best news, but it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, I still think that they're good for in the long term, but in the short term, it's just one of those things that you just don't know really how much further this is going to make it go down or not.
Yep. And then with the next question, we have RMC saying options question. If I purchased a in the money call with a delta of zero point 0.8, wouldn't that negate the high implied volatility crush? So it would not totally cancel out the IV crush, but it would help. It would help a lot to combat the IV crush. IV crushes really hurt out of the money options and even at the money options. If you're deep in the money, the IV crush is still definitely going to affect you, but it's not going to affect you nowhere near as much as it will affect out of the money or at the money options. So going in the money and especially deep in the money, it definitely gives you that advantage. Even though the options are a little bit more expensive, it really protects you from IV crushes, but it doesn't cancel it out by any means. With the next question, we have Whitney saying, how do you guys look at Tesla in the short term with the Elon Musk and the COVID news?
Yeah, I mean, I really, in the short term, with Elon Musk having COVID, I don't think it's going to affect Tesla too much as a stock, but I think it has some concern because obviously, like if Elon Musk ended up passing away from it or something, that would be a terrible news for Tesla and SpaceX and obviously everything that he's been doing. But I don't think it's too concerning given the current death rate on it. But it's still a pretty scary thing. But just as far as stocks go, I don't think it's going to affect the stock too much.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think we would have saw a lot. I think we would have seen a lot more volatility in Tesla today. I mean, it was only down 0.1%, so the market isn't really pricing in anything you can say, and I don't really think it's going to be too much of a big deal, at least right now.
Yeah, and Elon was actually pretty angry because he tested twice positive and twice negative. So he was like, "Well, I don't even know what I really am now." So he was kind of confused on Twitter.
Yep. With the last question, we have Piper saying, question, I made a mistake and bought NIO close to the high on Friday. So I turned around and sold covered calls against my shares that the break even price will set me up to not lose any money. Do you think that will play well for the week, or should I buy my calls back at open? So, great question and great job selling covered calls. In most circumstances, covered calls can put you in a great position. I think the answer is very simple, and it comes down to your personal risk tolerance in what you see NIO doing in the future. If you're just looking at NIO for just a short little momentum trade, maybe like an earnings run up, then I would consider closing it out and maybe closing the position. However, if you're looking to invest in NIO for the long term, I don't really think you have to worry about anything. Even if NIO does fall on earnings, and you like NIO for the long term, that would be great for you because you could pick up NIO shares at an even better price. So if you like the stock for the long term, I think you're going to be totally fine. If you don't, then I would consider cutting your losses or closing your position.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So Tom, do you have any last minute stocks, options, or any insight for the rest of this week?
Yeah, the last thing I think I wanted to share was that AMD is looking pretty hot this week. They're really popping above the support I had right around $83. And, I really like this setup, especially to close out the day. A lot of these chip makers at the end of the day ran up, and they've had a lot of momentum the past day or so. And I really like the movement on AMD. And also, one other one that's kind of strange is Snapchat. And this one I actually like to the downside. Let me get to my 15-minute chart. You can actually see that it traded below the 1,000 SMA, and now it's actually starting to bounce off of that. So I think if we see, SNAP fall below 38.50 or 38.40, I think we could see a pretty significant drop on that stock, maybe back down to the low of 37.35. And then obviously, if we break that low of 37.35, it could go a lot lower, especially given if we go to the daily chart, you can see how low it really could go, given how much it's gapped up over the past few weeks.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And guys, don't forget, we post new videos every single day. So if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. And if you guys want to trade the same options that Tom and I trade each day, you can click the Stocked Up Options Alerts link in the description down below. It also gives you access to the machine learning bot. But with that being said, if you have any questions, let us know in the comments down below. But other than that, thanks for watching.